Good evening, everybody. This is Greg Rector with Team MBS Media, and I have Josh Keatley 16 here with me. We're gonna preview the Notre Dame versus Penn State game, and Bill Carroll will be along shortly once he fixes his audio settings. Yeah, what the heck, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. So, Josh, I know you're going to be ready for tomorrow night's game.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the Buckeyes playing the Longhorns.
Oh yeah.
Um, what do you think about the Fighting Irish versus Penn State?
Man, I like Penn State. I think that they're tough. Bill and I talked about Penn State the last time. I think you were on the show as well. I've been on the show so many times now, but we were talking about. I was scared about Penn State beating Ohio State during the regular season, just because I think Drew Aller has all the physical tools. Once he figures it out, he's going to be a badass. Abdul Carter is very, very good. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen are just a two-headed monster. They always have a tough offensive line. Their defensive backs are always good. Zakee Wheatley's been great. There's just a lot to like about Penn State. And Ohio State, obviously won that first meeting. But Penn State went on, played Oregon tough. Andy Kotelnicki is really running a good show there. I think James Franklin has kind of learned his lesson. He kind of just stays out of the kitchen as far as the offense goes, and that's really helped Penn State. He's James Franklin's kind of doing what Ryan Day is doing a little bit, where it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to take a step back and be kind of the manager and let these guys figure it out. And Notre Dame's tough too. Notre Dame's really surprised me. I think Marcus Freeman's a great coach. 2 weeks ago, after Ohio State lost to Michigan, I was singing the praises of Marcus Freeman and wanting Ohio State to go get Marcus Freeman to replace Ryan Day. So I love Marcus Freeman. Few people like Marcus Freeman as much as I do. Even after they lost to Northern Illinois, I'm not saying that loss was justified, but it's kind of like, I was an Ohio State fan when Urban Meyer was here, and you would get those random losses that were just kind of a blip, right? And I'm not saying that you can't take those into consideration, but you kind of have to put an asterisk next to him. That's what that game felt like. But I do believe he's a good coach. I think Riley Leonard's he has reached that next level and improved greatly. I think that Jeremiah Love is a nasty dude. I think that the defense is real tough. But I got to go with Penn State. Penn State's been running the ball really strong, running the ball at everybody. They're averaging more than 6 yards a carry against everybody. I know that Notre Dame's got one of the better interior defensive linemen that's going to be hurt tonight. Their offense is a bit more one-dimensional. Penn State's defense, as long as Abdul Carter is out there ready to go, I don't know what they're going to be able to do to stop them and move the ball on them effectively enough to win. I didn't even mention Tyler Warren, who's basically the modern day John Reagan. So, I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means, but gun to my head, I'm taking Penn State.
All right. Well, you know me. I'm going to be all about the Fighting Irish here. Abdul Carter or Jeremiah Love, does either player finish this game? Is the question. Because Love's going to be wearing a brace on his right knee. Carter, of course, we know he's got a shoulder problem. So it's going to depend on which player actually is able to contribute for all 60 minutes here. The Fighting Irish have stoned everybody on the ground, but more importantly, through the air. And Drew Aller through the air doesn't have that great a receiving core.
No, he doesn't.
Outside of Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
So if you put Snead or Watts on Tyler Warren, does that limit Penn State's offense for the night?
I think you can. I think you can slow Tyler Warren down. Tyler Warren, to me, and I said this when Ohio State played Penn State too, because a lot of people messaged me like, "Is Tyler Warren that good?" No, I don't think he's that good. I think a healthy Colson Loveland is probably actually even better. Tyler Ferguson from Oregon, that guy's more of a deep threat. But Tyler Warren does a lot of stuff. That's the problem with Tyler Warren. He's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. So it's not necessarily that – I think that you can contain him and you can stop him from going deep on you and getting 200 yards receiving. But I don't think you can stop him from getting, 50 yards receiving, 50 yards rushing, getting a couple good blocks in here. But I don't know. I think that they can do enough through the air to dominate on the ground. Assuming Drew Aller is the Drew Aller we've seen the last 2 games, I think Drew Aller's been playing on another level. And I think that the Penn State schedule, I know that a lot of people were making fun of it at the beginning of the year, but they've played Ohio State tough. They got blown out by Oregon. But Boise State's a tough team. I know a lot of my friends were betting experts. They picked Boise State to win outright, and Penn State stuff to shut them out. A lot of my friends, they picked Penn State. A lot of my betting expert friends, they picked Penn State to win against SMU, but they picked SMU with the spread. Penn State shut them down. And Notre Dame, they deserve credit for what they did against Georgia, because I do believe that that's a good Georgia team. But I don't know. After that, too, it's like I'm trying to compare. These teams are so close. I'm trying to look at overall resume. And, man, I don't know. Other than Georgia, Notre Dame's best win is what? Texas A&M, maybe? I mean, Navy,
Well, I mean, they beat up the best offensive line in the country in the Army team. That was the best offensive line according to the coaches.
That's true.
Was the Army team, and they pounded the daylights out of them. They beat up Bronco Horvath and Navy. It was a good, solid win against Louisville that they had.
Louisville's good.
Louisville is a good team. Texas A&M was week 1, right? And it just, we went down to Kyle Field. Okay, that's great. And it was very hot out, and of course everybody was saying, no, Notre Dame can't play in the heat and all this. Really? Okay. We shut down the 12th man.
Yeah, and Texas A&M is good. They're okay. I'll give you credit there. But Notre Dame also beat USC, who just beat Texas A&M, and Texas A&M was trying. Some of these bowl games where you get a little asterisk. That game doesn't deserve an asterisk. Everybody that wanted to play played. If anything, USC had more guys sit out, and USC beat them. That's one of my big bugaboos with Texas in the game coming up on Friday. Is that you look at these schedules and it's like they're getting a lot of credit because they've kind of snuck by, but who's their best win? Because Texas's best win is probably Texas A&M too. Obviously after Arizona State. But back to Notre Dame. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're. I'm looking at it with the teams being so close. I'm trying to look through trying to dissect and pick everything apart. And I just don't know if their resume. If I'm ranking their resumes, I have to give that edge to Penn State as far as the season goes.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. I mean, Notre Dame plays an ACC schedule. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and it's really no fault of their own too, because at the beginning of the year too, Florida State was supposed to be good, right?
USC was supposed to be good. USC was supposed to be good.
Yeah, Texas A&M was supposed to be good. All these teams were supposed to be good. That was supposed to be the toughest schedule in all college football, and it just a lot of those teams just shit the bed.
Exactly, and again with the Fighting Irish. I think the key to them is going to be on special teams. Their special teams are very, very good.
Yes.
You have the former Niners great defensive player, Bryant Young, his son Bryce, who is a punt blocking machine. Jaden Harrison finally got loose for the kickoff return last week, which was fantastic to see. Because again, he came out of Marshall and he played every level of the wide receiver position at Marshall. Plus he was a All-American kick returner, and he only had 17 receptions all year, which is kind of something that I've been, Mr. Denbrock, hello, what are you doing with this guy? Why isn't he out there a little bit more?
Yeah.
But again, I think the special teams for Notre Dame will play a big role in this game.
And I would agree with you. Have to give the edge on special teams to Notre Dame. If that does play a large role, then I would agree with you. If that special teams plays a large role, where we got 1 or 2 issues or 1 or 2 mistakes, those mistakes are going to go the way of Notre Dame, and then that's probably how they win the game. You're not going to find an argument from me there. Marcus Freeman has coached a tough team, and with these tough teams like that, they're really good on special teams. That's one of the things he's really added. I spoke to someone earlier today, and we were talking about Notre Dame, and I said, one thing that scares me about Notre Dame, if you're a Penn State fan, has got to be how effective and how dangerous they are on all phases of special teams. And the person said, "Well, don't you think that special teams is 50% luck, right? Like, don't you think they've gotten lucky the last few games?"
This is coaching. This is all coaching. And
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
People don't understand. People don't understand that a special teams coach is there for a reason.
No, and I completely agree with you. And the thing too that does it for me is that, once okay, twice okay, but if you're doing it game after game after game, it's a trend. It's you know what I mean? So at that point, you have to account for it. It's kind of like turnovers, right? Turnovers are, if as an Ohio State fan, whenever someone gets an interception, people are like, okay, is this it? Is this, Ohio State's going to start to get turnovers? And I always think, no, that's not what this means, right? You need a couple, in a row to really establish yourself as this is what you're doing now. And that's what Notre Dame has done on special teams. I think turnovers are the same way, especially in college. You can kind of account for that stuff, right? Guys being more aggressive and all that.
And the number one team in turnovers in the country is Notre Dame. Their defense has caused more turnovers, and they've created more points off those turnovers than any other team in college football. So there's your answer as to why I have Notre Dame winning.
And that's fair. The spread is real small. I think it's going to be a very close game. Yep. Like I said, when I'm evaluating everything, I think that Penn State has maybe that's the best way to put it. I think Penn State has the much higher ceiling, but perhaps Notre Dame has the higher floor, if that makes sense. And a lot of that hinges on Drew Aller in the running game. And the Bill Carter, of course. His help.
Donovan has joined us. So same question to you, Donovan. Who do you have in that first game and why? And then from a recruiting standpoint, tell me how the teams that are still alive stack up. I think Georgia was one of the recruiting blue bloods that obviously didn't survive to this point, but most of the other sort of top 5 to 6 type recruiting programs seem to have made it thus far in the playoffs, except for, well, obviously the other SEC schools that are in the top 5 or 6. But walk me through who you think wins and why, and then from a recruiting aspect, which teams that are still alive have the most, 4 and 5 stars and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about recruiting first. I guess Texas is number 1 in the 2025 class, so they're still there. Ohio State, number 4, they're still in there. Obviously, it drops down a little bit. Notre Dame and Penn State are number 12 and 15, respectively. I actually think Ohio State's class, in my opinion, would be number 3. And they're just loaded next year. Josh knows. they got a lot coming. They got a lot coming in next year. That thing is going to keep steamrolling. And so is
maybe.
So is Texas. They're fine. Julian Saying is probably better than Will Howard.
Hey, I've heard that a lot. But I heard that a lot about Tate Martell.
He's from San Diego too. Shout out. So Tate Martell's from San Diego too. So probably shouldn't say that. But Julian's good. Originally from San Diego, obviously Vegas. But no, Ohio State is in good hands. Texas is in good hand recruiting, obviously with Arch and then their class, and then Notre Dame got a hell of a class. Actually, in the trenches, better class than Texas and Ohio State and Penn State.
Yes, they do.
And then Penn State's class is great. It's actually no 5 stars, but it's really deep. They have a deeper class than every team. Well, I think them and Ohio State both have 20 4 stars, but Ohio State just has 2 5 stars. It's the only difference. But they've got a bunch of dudes, so they're good. All teams are good. These are blue bloods, they're all good. Penn State just has the bigger class. Like I said, I think they're signing 38 recruits. 36, yeah.
36, isn't it? Yeah, 36.
That's a lot.
Oh yeah.
And they they'll keep rolling too, for sure. But as far as the game tonight. Yeah, I don't know what y'all's predictions were. I'm gonna guess Greg's was Notre Dame.
What made you guess that? Donovan, come on.
I've only done one show with you, but I guess that we follow each other now on X though. But no, I it's gonna be close, man. I talked to Josh like a few hours ago, right? And I was like, I don't know who. It's a flip of the coin, man. It's gonna be really close, but breaking it down and just going over it, I'm taking Penn State. I was high on them beginning of the season. I had them in my top 4. I actually had Drew Aller winning the Heisman. Obviously, he didn't do that, but he's been playing great football, especially of lately. And I just watched his pregame speech. That's not like Drew Aller to be cursing and rah like that. He had me kind of hyped, man. That was cool. He was like, that was Trace McSorley vibes from him. He's not that type of guy. No, I mean like that guy.
That's the T-shirt moment, Josh.
Yeah,
I want that T-shirt that says Trace McSorley vibes.
I thought he was going to give him like this riveting compliment, and then you drop Trace McSorley.
Have you not seen Trace McSorley's pregame speeches before?
Yeah.
I should have Trace McSorley. Trace McSorley.
Yeah, I didn't say his play. I'm talking about pregame speech. Drew Aller,
right, and
Drew Aller doesn't. Drew Aller is like the same personality. If you got, I've interviewed Drew. I know some people that know him. He's like Justin Herbert. Like you're not going to get a lot of that stuff from him. So to see him 30 minutes before the game, his pregame speech be like a McSorley was like a rah like linebacker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know it was a compliment. Yeah, it was a compliment.
And he was better. He was better than I may give him credit for. Now, his pregame speeches were like
elite.
Legendary, dude. Yeah.
Trace McSorley was elite at pregame speeches.
Yeah, that's just not Drew, but Drew is an elite quarterback. But I mean, I think that it kind of starts and ends with him. If he's been playing like he's been playing lately, they're gonna win the football game, and it really. Comes down to 15. Honestly, the 20-year-old kid from Ohio. So it comes down to him. Abdul Carter looks like his shoulder. He's gonna play limited snaps, is what they're saying. So, but that's gonna be an impact guy. And Notre Dame got injuries too, so that's not an excuse. I want to hear. But Howard Cross is playing. That guy's gonna be big time. This D line's great for Notre Dame. I think it's 24. I think I had it 24-21. Yeah, Penn State winning. It's gonna be close, man. I do think Notre Dame kind of still will hang in the game and just fight and claw and scratch their way in just because that's the type of team they are. But I think Penn State's just got a little bit better athletes and, better quarterback than me. And just I like them in this situation. So I'll go Penn State. I also want to say that I cannot wait to see Tyler Warren versus Xavier Watts tonight. That's going to be fun because the only team that slowed him down a little bit is Ohio State with Caleb Downs. And, I mean, Xavier Watts, not Caleb Downs, but he's damn near close. He's really good. So that's going to be a fun matchup. But, yeah, it's going to be – I mean, this matchup really it's going to be awesome, man. I think this is going to be the closer game out of the two.
And as far as the pregame speeches go, you give me Rocco Spindler, baby, the right guard from the Irish. Goes out there and he squares up a good storm for the Irish and gets them going too.
Micah Parsons looked like he was about to suit up. They had to tell him, bro, you can't come back to Penn State. He was in the middle of the like he was.
Micah is just Micah. He's not the smartest.
I know you're a Cowboys fan too, so
I know he's not, but he's not the smartest man out there. Okay, I trust me. He's got the 10+ sacks in the first 4 seasons like Derrick Henry did. That's great. But again, when he came out last year and said, "I've seen everything that I need to see in football," I just know you dumb, just no, dumb.
Well, yeah, that wasn't the greatest. But I'm glad he's out there to hype them up and be with number. They had LeVar Arrington, obviously. The linebacker,
honorary captain. Yep, number 11.
I mean, I hate to say it just comes down to one guy, but like I said, the reason I'm saying that really is just because Notre Dame is so good at taking the ball away and scoring all turnovers. But Drew Aller actually, he has the most games, or he's tied with the most the past 2 years without basically 300-yard plus and no turnovers. He's got 8 games. The only other person that has that is Jaden Daniels.
Yep. Well, see, this is a big deal. This is the other school that I cheer for, Donovan.
Oh, okay.
These are my 2 schools that I love.
Great. Yeah, man. This is your game then for sure.
This is the Great Rector Bowl.
This is my game.
Yeah.
And of course, earlier this year, I had to put up with Josh and his Ohio State Buckeyes beating the Nittany Lions, and that really annoyed me. It really did.
Well, you got to deal with it in January 20th because, I mean, one of them is going to be playing. Maybe playing Ohio State. I won't give it away yet, but we'll see. But
you kind of did.
Yeah.
But okay.
Maybe. I don't know though. Me and Josh had a little debate earlier about that game, so maybe not. We'll see.
Well, no, we had the same conclusion, the same answer,
different. Yeah. Yeah, we won't spoil it, but yeah, this game's gonna be fun. There's a lot of good matchups, for sure. I definitely want to see, Drew Shelton and Nolan Rucci and those boys up front for Penn State and what they can do. They got their hands full. Nick Dawkins, excuse me. They got their hands full. The senior crew for sure. So,
Well,
fun.
I'm going to ask you, Donovan, and then I'll go to you, Josh. If there has to be, let's say, 3 to 4 deep shots taken and hopefully connected upon, which team do you trust to connect on it? Because I think that's what's going to be one of the determinants. Both teams want to just pound each the other in the run game, but both teams know that, right? It's not like they don't watch tape. So you're going to get some heavy boxes. That means you're going to get sometimes man-to-man, deep outside the numbers. And if you can hit a streak or a go or a deep post or something like that's going to be help to flip, otherwise sort of a gut-punching match. I mean, it's like watching Carmen Basilio versus Gene Fulmer in like 1947, where it's just who can punch who in the liver the hardest. So for those who are boxing historians, you'll know what I mean. But Donovan, I'll start with you and then I'll go to Josh. If there's 3 to 4 deep shots that are going to be taken, who has the best chance to complete those deep shots and why?
The deep shots, I'll go with Penn State because of Drew Aller and Tyler Warren. The two of the top 5 best players on the field, if not the best. So I'll go with the 6'4", 233-pound gunslinging kid from, like I said, Ohio. But no, I'll go with them. I think I do like Notre Dame's weapons on the outside a little bit more, but I'll go with them just because they have, to me, Tyler Warren's the best player in this game, and then Drew Aller's the best quarterback in this game. He's got a big arm. He can sling it downfield. And I know that their offensive coordinator, Andy Kolenicki, I believe is how his last name. Yes, but he, definitely likes to run the rock, but he'll take some shots, as you saw in the Boise game. But this is not Boise State, so you don't want to take too many. I thought they got a little cute early in both of their games, and they could afford to do that, especially with all the SMU's turnovers. But this game, you don't want to do that. It's like impossible to get behind on Notre Dame. If you get behind on Notre Dame, dude, too far behind, it's just too hard. Because they're so good on third down and they run the ball so well. Jesus, this team is just they just wear you down, man. But I think Penn State has the better shots downfield. Katron Allen, it might be him, or Singleton too, might be, because their receivers just aren't that good, honestly. Right. I do like Wallace a little bit. He might hit one downfield. Maybe my boy Fleming, but if he catches the ball. He might be. He gets open really. Such a great route runner, but cannot catch. So, kind of need to catch being a receiver though. So, we'll see. But I think Penn State hits a couple downfield for sure. But I can see Notre Dame
doing this against Leonard Moore and Christian Gray. That's all I'm going to say, because Leonard Moore is a true freshman and he has replaced Benjamin Morrison magnificently in that corner.
And I still have Benjamin Morrison as a first-round pick. So.
Yep.
Yeah. He has done a good job. But like I said, I just think I don't know what you do with Tyler Warren. You're going to I would just double team him because their receivers aren't that good. Because if he's too good. It's not going to stop him at all.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not going to happen. I don't think anyone can stop him.
Same question for you, Josh. If there's 3 or 4 deep shots that are going to help to determine the outcome of this game, who do you think hits on them and why?
I agree with Donovan. I think it's Penn State just because these teams are so similar. But I think Drew Aller is a slightly better passer. I think he's a more gifted passer. Just like Riley Leonard, I think he's a more gifted athlete. So I trust Drew Aller to make that shot more than Riley Leonard. The problem is the receiving core. Donovan touched on it. And the fact that Donovan talked about Julian Fleming, who I don't even think plays – I don't think he's seen the field in 5 games for Penn State, has he? So the fact that he brought Julian Fleming up lets you know how bad the receiving core at Penn State is, other than Tyler Warren. But Notre Dame's, it's not like Notre Dame has it's not like Notre Dame's Oregon, Ohio State in the receiving corps. So at least I'll go with Tyler Warren and the Drew Aller connection. I think that could probably happen. And I agree with Donovan too. Both those running backs, I mean, especially Singleton, they can catch the ball in the backfield all right. So I'll lean Penn State on that one.
Okay, gotcha. And Greg has said a lot about the secondary of Notre Dame, so I'm going to give him a few minutes to explain about exactly how Penn State's secondary, because I do like Penn State's defense, and they are very, very talented and well coached in the back half of that defense. So if they're going to send up the seam, Warren, and maybe roll the dice on whichever one of their receivers is the guy that's best at getting deep, maybe to take the top off and then Warren runs underneath. I mean, that's if you have one mismatch player, you want to try to find the best matchup for him. And if you can get him isolated on a linebacker, he's going to win 100% of the time. And even safety, he gives him trouble because of his size. But take me through how the coverage of Notre Dame takes away not just Warren, but any of the other threats they have.
Well, as I said, Moore and Christian Gray, the sophomore, they have just been magnificent for the Irish in the two corners. Snead and Watts, Xavier Watts is a highly underrated safety. He's just been everywhere that Notre Dame needs him to be, and he will be the guy that will face Tyler Warren tonight. He'll face Tyler Warren. I think the other case that you want to make, though, isn't the deep shot down the outside of the field by Riley Leonard. It would be a deep shot up the seam. And that means Mitchell Evans, Jordan Faison, the slot receiver for Notre Dame. That's where Riley Leonard is going to go.
Love Mitchell Evans, by the way, Greg.
Yeah.
Yes, he's been getting better little by little over the year. Yeah, it's a rocky start, but he's been.
Well, he was hurt. He was banged up last year, right? So
he gets hurt a lot. He's so tall and runs upright. I feel like he got to work on that a little bit. But yeah, he gets hurt. He's good. He's got a lot of talent. I like it.
Right. And Donovan falls in love with each one Notre Dame tight end every few years anyway.
I really do, man.
You really do.
Or Cole Kmet and the others. I mean, come on now.
Keep going. Yeah.
It's worse than that, dude.
Keep going. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about like Ben Koyak. Like,
yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, it gets deeper than that for my love.
It does. So deep. So deeper than Atlantis, deeper than the seafloor, traveled by the mantis. Shout out to
you couldn't tell me nothing about
and my man, Mr. Corso, Mr. Corso is wearing his leprechaun outfit. Notre Dame this game. It's over.
Did y'all see the backup, Penn State's former backup, Bo? How do you pronounce his last name? Bo
Preba or Prebia?
Trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know who you mean.
He was on. That dude was partying hard on that yacht in Miami, dude. That video.
We'll move on to the party tier rankings of the players in this game. Who do you think probably is able to party the hardiest? No, actually, I'm kidding. At least I hope I am. Now that's where Tate Martell would end up to the top of your rankings, Josh. There you go. Yeah. That's where he kills it.
Lived up to the hype there.
I've been in the club. I've been in the club with him. Been in the club with him before. That's all I can say.
Oh yeah, yeah, you have. Yeah. He's a crypto bro now, right?
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that.
He's probably got some non-fungible tokens too.
Somewhere Tate Martell is like, what? That was the 50 Cent meme. But let's go back to Donovan for so if there is a player that we haven't discussed yet that can make a play that flips this game, that turns the direction of this game that we haven't talked about yet, who is that player and why? And I'll ask the same question of you in a moment, Josh.
This is gonna kind of be off the grid, but I would say Liam Clifford. I just think if they just have to methodically move the ball downfield because this Notre Dame defense is so good, like that's the guy to go to, right? Now you're talking about speed on the outside. That's not your guy, but just those underneath routes. That's definitely the guy. Is Liam Clifford. He's tough. I mean, just like his brother Sean, tough as hell.
Yeah.
That is
Yep.
Sean Clifford's brother, by the way. I know
It shows.
Yeah, definitely shows. Tough as hell. Probably. I mean, heart and soul of this team really definitely gets him going. And yeah, I mean, he gets underneath routes. I mean, he'll get you 4 catches. It might only be for about 25, 30 yards, but it might be in the red zone. You know what I mean? He's got a couple touchdowns there. So, and he's also the roommate of Drew Aller, so that helps. But yeah, I think he could be a guy that moves the chains for them. Like if it's a 4th and 3 and they're loading the box and they might have to throw, that would be the guy they go to. I know Harrison Wallace III is their best receiver, but Liam Clifford is really reliable and just can get the chains moving. I know I don't want to make the little white receiver joke, but I mean he kind of definitely fits the mold of it. He's no Ladd McConkey for sure.
He's the stereotype.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey is like not the stereotype at all. He's the outlier. But yeah, definitely Liam Clifford is the stereotype. But no, but he's gonna be. I mean, he has pretty good speed. He's shifty, you know what I mean. But he's not gonna kill you straight line or
I
anything.
thought you were gonna say sneaky athletic for a second there.
No, he's not.
He almost
Sneaky. I
did.
mean, you know what
He
Liam
wanted
Clifford. You know what Liam Clifford is when you look at. I mean,
I
you know,
do. I do know you.
Watch them at St. Xavier in Cincinnati, and he's just he's. I think he's 6 foot, like 210.
There we go.
Yeah.
So that would make him the
But he can take a hit across the middle. I mean, he said he loves getting hit. You know what I mean?
Oh, so he's Anthony Gonzalez, speaking of Ohio State. Bada bing.
Yeah. So I'll go Liam Clifford.
Gotcha. Same question to you, Josh. Who's a player we have not discussed that you think can make a game-changing play?
I'll go with Denise Sutton, the other edge rusher for Penn State. This was a guy who was a former 5-star recruit. Ohio State was pretty high on. I'm being biased because I really liked him when Ohio State was trying to get him. He's really effective. When I got to see him in person a couple of years ago when Penn State was down here, God, I can't remember who it was that got hurt. Was it Owe? It was whatever. They had another early round draft pick at defensive end who went down. And then we all kind of, breathed a sigh of relief, like, oh man, Ohio State's going to run away with this. And then Denise Sutton was just as nasty, just as effective. And he's been playing. He's a very underrated pass rusher. And I could see him breaking out. I could see this being a breakout game, right?
Okay, got it.
Oh, my bad, Bill. I just want to. I forgot about my second choice was Tony Rojas. Shout out.
Oh yeah, shout out to Virginia Gatorade Player of the Year. Yeah, there we go. As a running back, no less. Well, tell people if they aren't familiar with him. I think he's a tremendously underrated talent in this upcoming. Well, tell us about it.
No, I mean, I talked about Liam Clifford on offense, but I got to give the defense some love because, I mean, Penn State's defense is just kind of a little underrated. I mean, I think that everybody knows about him, Abdul Carter and all these guys in their secondary, but Rojas is great, man. Yeah, I mean, he is a playmaker. He's a former running back, Gatorade Player of the Year, Fairfax, Virginia, for sure. He's a sophomore, but he's special. So rangy, so quick. That turn, he would have pick 6 in the SMU game. Or I don't know if it was a pick 6, but I know it was a big interception.
Yeah, no, you're right. Pick 6. Yeah.
He got 2. He had another big interception late in the year. So he's been playing really good lately. He's kind of finally fitting into his role as the linebacker for them, to me. That's just a true playmaker. I know he was a running back. He did play linebacker in high school, so it's not new to linebacker, but played both ways. But he's nasty, man. I like him. He reminds me of Miles Jack, kind of.
Huh.
The Puerto Rican.
Right, there you go. I was thinking a little more like Chad Muma. But yeah, I mean he is a guy that can appear places that you don't expect him to get to. And once again, more athletic than I think people realize. But if you watch
cover.
If you watch his high school running back tape, you say, oh yeah, this guy's a great pure athlete.
Yeah, no, I mean this is a big game. He's got family too in Miami, So I watched all the the generic Puerto Rican joke, right? Yeah, he's got a lot of family there, and he was talking about that. So that's another big thing for him. So yeah, man. I mean, that's another big one for me. Tony Rojas and Liam Clifford.
What the heck, Greg? Let's see which offensive lineman from Notre Dame Greg throws at us. Greg, who's a Notre Dame player? Because I know you're going to pick up Notre Dame player that you think might make a game-changing play for us in this game.
I'm going to go with the guy who had a great week last week against some big Georgia edge that everybody's talking about in the draft and things. So Bill Carter, you get Anthony Knoll, a freshman left tackle.
Yep.
And this kid he has played so well. It's inexplainable to me because, I mean, this kid was like third on the depth chart.
Right.
And he's just played so well. Yes, he was playing against Georgia, who didn't recruit him for he was upset with that. But I really think on the offensive line, as long as him and Strauss get their game going on that left hand side, Jeremiah Love's going to get a hole.
Got it. Yeah, I had a feeling you might mention him. He's on my freshman All-American team. I think this guy is going to be a top 50 draft pick when his time comes, which will probably be about 3 years, because the NFL is desperate for left tackles. There's not 32 starting left tackles available.
Greg, I really like Jack Kaiser and for Notre Dame to be that X factor to me.
Well, Bill asked me about the offensive line. So
I was joking. You could have picked anybody you wanted, but I had a feeling you were going to pick an offensive lineman. I'll let you pick it up.
Okay, so if it's anybody, if it is anybody, then Donovan's got the right guy. Mr. Kaiser. Mr. Kaiser is going to be a difference maker because he will stop Nicholas Singleton or Katron Allen, and he'll tackle him behind that line. He'll get them. So Tyler Warren, I don't know, because the way that Notre Dame's defensive front plays, they do not get hung up by the blockers. They are very good at escaping the blocker. And then you have Kaiser coming in. That's going to be a tough task. So again, I want a repeat of what we saw Kotelnicki end up doing against Ohio State. Tyler Warren has more rushing yards than Singleton and Allen do, and Allen and Singleton get more receiving yards. How's that?
I'm going to throw it back to Donovan. So Donovan, tell us about what you were about to tell us and why you think he might be a difference maker.
He's just consistent, man. That's the the guy for Notre Dame. He's the meat and potatoes of that defense. He can do a little bit of everything for them. He's played a lot of football too. Nothing can really surprise him too much. Smart guy, just a throwback, like a thumper, man. I just like that kid. He's got everything. He can, the way he plays on special teams to be like a starter for the past couple of years too is just. I mean, he's a good player, man. He is going to have his hands full tonight, but I think as far as stopping the run, which is what he's best at, I think he is going to do a good job. Now, I mean, obviously they got two guys over 1,000 yards. That's a lot of guys to stop, but I think he can help stop them. They're going to win. He's going to be a big factor in that. I would definitely say. And then you mentioned the left tackle. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely – so we're on the same page for sure because, I mean, he's got his hands full tonight. But, I mean – I could go Jadarian Price too, just because I don't know about Jeremiah Love's health. But
the other running back, Aeneas Williams, doesn't get enough credit as well because when it's third down, Williams is the guy that comes in on those third down plays, and he is excellent at getting the short yardage for them. So
yeah, no, yeah, I mean, I would probably say Mitchell Evans is another one, but you already had mentioned him, so yeah.
The other guy I want to see, again, as I was speaking with Josh earlier, is Jaden Harrison get a bloody reception. Because Bill and I talked about this last week. He's only had 17 receptions all year long. He needs to get that football.
Yeah, he's a talent, and he's underutilized for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So before you move on to the next game, is there any other player or coaching or anything other aspect that you think might be determinative in how the game? I'll start with Josh. Anything we left out that we missed on this game before we move on to the second one?
I don't think enough credit is given to Marcus Freeman. I think that it's really weird. The focus that gets anointed, like when they lost to Northern Illinois. College football is weird. I think that a lot of emphasis is placed on when you lose these big upsets, and it should be kind of, but sometimes that happens. I think Marcus Freeman is a young coach. I think he's aggressive. I think he's transformed Notre Dame into a tough team. I don't think Brian Kelly left the cupboard empty by any means. I don't think he jumped into a situation like Ryan Day either. So there is a middle ground there, and I understand that, and I want to be realistic about that. So this was not the hardest job, right? This wasn't, Kalen DeBoer at Washington or anything like that, but. What he's transformed the identity of that team, and I think that deserves a lot more credit than people are giving him, really. And I think it's because the Northern Illinois loss kind of lingers over him. It doesn't help that Northern Illinois was also a very crappy MAC team. That's the weirdest thing about it all. They weren't even a good MAC team.
8-4. I mean,
come on.
They were decent. They were decent, but again, it came down to a block field goal at the end of the game. That's all that was. It was a block field goal. Northern Illinois blocked the field goal kick, and that was it.
Yeah, and it's still Northern. They should have won by. It didn't. If they would have won by 3 touchdowns, it still would have had an asterisk next to it. But I don't know if that asterisk is any worse than Ryan Day gets a lot of hate for losing to Michigan 4 times in a row. What's worse? You know what I mean? And I think that those two things are.
What I've been saying, man.
I think that the Northern Illinois loss is probably not as bad. So.
Well, Marcus Freeman did something that Brian Kelly got rid of. Brian Kelly did not have his players go to mass before the football games. That's right, kids. This is Notre Dame. Notre Dame. Touchdown Jesus. Marcus Freeman has his players going back to mass before they play a game. That is Notre Dame football. Brian Kelly, you sucked. You really did.
Brian Kelly's Catholic too, so that's kind of surprising.
Well, Marcus Freeman is a Reformed. He's now a Catholic. Marcus Freeman became a Catholic in 2023.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Right, and again, but you lost that tradition of going to the mass and walking out of that basilica to the stadium. Oh, what the heck? What? No, you don't do that. This is Notre Dame.
I think it's also hard for people to forget. What was it? 2 years? When his first year, and whether this is fair or not, I don't know. When they after they lost to Ohio State, they stumbled and lost to Marshall and a bunch of teams they shouldn't have lost to. But again, that was his first year, so I think some more grace should be given to Marcus Freeman. But he wins a national championship, all that shit goes out the window.
Well, that's for all these guys, man. I mean, because Franklin's got it the worst.
Yes.
Big
game James? Is that you're talking about there, Donovan? Big game James?
Yeah, that's right. Big game James. If he wins tonight, I don't want to hear. 3 playoff wins. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. They put the teams in. They played SMU. They played who they played. That they beat them. So I don't want to hear it.
Right.
They beat Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. I don't want to hear nothing about James Franklin. All right.
Gotcha.
One thing about James Franklin. I think James Franklin has already reformed. Even if he loses to Notre Dame tonight, I think he's already reformed. James Franklin, it's the same thing. I say it about Ryan Day all the time, and people message me. There's coaches that are just they're in these positions where they should be great. Penn State should be great every year. Ohio State should be great every year. And then they win 9 games, and you have half the population. It's like, oh, that's good. But then the other half of the population is like, no, that sucks, because it does suck, right? You know what I mean? If you're winning, James Franklin has to beat Ohio State, and he has to beat Michigan eventually, right? I think that this year showed, though, that he's kind of reformed, because he's hired Andy Kolnicki, and he's kind of stepped away, right? You can kind of see that in the way they call offense, the way they call the game. He's not making the same dumb mistakes aren't occurring, because it feels like he stepped out of the kitchen. He's like, all right, my job is
a lot of that's because of 15. I mean, when you got a quarterback that started for 3 years in a row in the same, similar system.
I think so too. Whatever it is, I just want to give James Franklin credit, because I do think if that's how he continues to coach, to get the hell out of the way. Sometimes you just have to learn. Sometimes you just have to build the roster and learn when to get the hell out of the way. And I think with that too.
I'm happy for all these coaches to be there. They all help. Felt a lot of pressure. Even
so, if I can understand what Josh is saying, he's coaching better by coaching less. Well said.
I I mean, you know, he's a
good recruiter too. Like it does all come down to like, I mean, there's some guys that are just better at certain things. Like, I mean, you guys know that. Like, you guys, I mean,
right.
Donovan,
I mean,
that's exactly what I was going to say. The guy's a good talent evaluator. He's good at picking and choosing who to get in the transfer
portal. It's gonna be a long night.
There's different aspects of college football coaching, and I think that, you know, Deion Sanders has shown us that, and James Franklin fits that mold. He puts together a great goddamn roster.
Every recruit I've talked to love James Franklin, man, and they stay for him. Penn State doesn't have a lot of guys transfer out.
No.
Like, I mean, look what he's doing with 2 backs. I mean, usually your back would leave. Like, I'm not going to share the backfield. No, it'll stay. We're going to give you both the raw. Drew Aller has a really good relationship with Franklin. Now he's been frustrated. Well, they've been frustrated with each other, but they've grown together. He took Drew Aller in as a 17-year-old and started him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's kind of how they got him though, right? Like, you know, they did the old Art Schleicher knock on your door and say you're going to start immediately.
Oh yeah, they because I think I was on Bill's show and somebody on your show was like, Drew Aller's not going to start. I was like, Drew Aller's starting.
They pretty much
they pretty much
he won.
They told him he was starting before he. Well, they pretty much said the job's yours, don't lose it. I mean, you still got to play well in practice, but it was kind of an agreement for sure. Yeah. But that's the whole point of him going to Penn State. Yeah, for sure, you're right. Yeah. I'm happy for all these guys, man. Coach Day, obviously, I mean, for what he's been talked about and been through, he's still got some room to go though. But and Coach Sarch too, and Coach Sarch has had the most success out of all of them as a coordinator at least. So he already has a couple rings for USC, but NFL success too. But he's still got pressure on him too with everything that's going on. So I'm happy for all 4 of these guys, man.
I stand by my criticisms of Ryan Day. We will see what he can do when you have I have a real problem with, and the media is doing this now too. I saw an article about Dennis Dodd, the same guy who wrote an article about a $20 million roster, how it's the best roster. This roster is the best. It competes. The same guy is mad that I'm critical of the team. You said he was the best. You said he had the best shit, and they lost the most embarrassing loss in the last 10 years. What I don't understand how I'm the psycho. But like you said, if he wins tonight, he wins. If he wins it, all goes out. If he wins it, I will be the first person in line to help build a statue.
So we have now 2 T-shirt moments. We have Josh is going to be first in line to help build the statue along with the other T-shirt moment. So
these guys are young too, man. They're not. I mean, these guys aren't old. These are all
young coaches.
I mean, Marcus Freeman is super duper young, but like,
none of the guys we mentioned are even 50. So yes, they're all young coaches.
Yeah, well, Franklin is 50.
Well, he is 50. Okay.
That's not an excuse, though.
But he's still pretty young. But I mean, he doesn't look 50 for one. And he'll be there for. I mean, he could be.
But there for none of these jobs are in the Sun Belt. This is not where you learn to coach football.
Yeah, he can be there for 24 years. Franklin. I mean,
because that was my issue with Ryan Day. Is I never said Ryan Day's a bad coach. I always said my criticism was he could be a good coach in the future. Right now, he's not. Right now, he has glaring issues. That's what I've always said.
Top 5 coach in college football.
Why though? Why?
I guess you'll see why on January 20th.
Maybe I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Two of his top 5
He's the Ohio
wins,
State guy, by the way, not me.
No, I hope you're right. But 2 of his top 5 wins in his coaching career happened the last 2 weeks, dude. You know what I mean? Think about that. Yeah. Right? He's got this 90 wins.
Everybody gets hyped up over the Michigan game every year because it's
Ohio
State versus that school up north, and that's all that matters to most people that live in the Buckeye State.
That's just, but it's
that is the only game that matters to them. And they don't pay attention to everything else that the guy's done.
Now we're getting off the rails. Now I got.
Okay, hold on, Josh. We have to let Josh defend himself.
Pause. First of all, it's not just the Michigan game. If it were just the Michigan game, that'd be one thing. I've been covering this. I've gone to every Ohio State game since I've started covering the team in 2021. You know how many times they've been in Indianapolis? Guess how many times they've been to the Big Ten championship? Guess how many times he's won the Big Ten? It's 0. It's 0 fucking times. Right?
So I know they lose that game. They lose that game.
Well, yes, that's what's keeping you out. You're at Ohio State. There's three. He plays 3 teams a year that have the same level of talent as him. Do they not? Do you think that you couldn't coach them to beat Akron? Do you think you couldn't coach them to beat Rutgers?
Marcus Freeman couldn't beat Northern Illinois though, and you love him.
He's getting heat for that. That's what I'm saying.
You just said you love that guy. He lost to Northern Illinois at home, dude.
Right, and he did it.
And I don't care about a field goal. It's Northern Illinois. They have no excuse. Ryan Day would never lose a game like that. Ever.
And you're right. And Marcus Freeman's getting a shit ton of heat for that, right?
No, compared to Ryan Day.
It's the same.
Love Marcus Freeman.
And he loses the same way. He loses the same way every time. I have these big balls, and it's going to be a physical. We're going to show Lou Holtz how physical we are. And he runs up the middle to the only 2 goddamn first rounders on Michigan's defense this year. He ran right at him every goddamn time. It's the same. He loses the same goddamn way. The only game he lost that was big, that was different, was Georgia. He went out guns a-blazing with Georgia, baby. So I don't really blame him for that. But even then, he lucked his ass. He got ass backwards into that playoffs. If it wasn't for USC and Lincoln Riley jerking his pud on the sidelines against Utah, they would have been in the playoffs, right?
See, my issue with the Ohio State game this year, trying to run up the gut against that school up north, was Will Johnson, who's also going to be a first-round draft pick, by the way, Josh. So there's 3. I know, but that's why I said he did not even play. So where was Jeremiah Smith and Mika Ibuka and Will Howard? Hello.
So you agree that it was coaching?
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Every time he loses those games, here's the deal. When Marcus Freeman, if you take out his first year, you have to take out his first year, right? Just like you have to take out Kellen DeBoer's first year. Okay. First of all, he was also given a roster that was rated rock and roll, right? The year before he got there, they had Dwayne Haskins, who threw 50 passing touchdowns. They had Justin Fields the very next year. This was a team he took to the national championship. That was one of the best Ohio State teams I've ever seen with my own eyes. I think every person on that roster has at least was at least invited to an NFL camp. Okay, you take that. There has to be a grain of salt for when you talk about his winning percentage, because you could coach against most teams he plays. He plays 3 tough teams a year, and it's Michigan, Penn State. If it wasn't for James Franklin being a subpar coach, Ryan Day would have no job, because he's lost twice.
I was going to say he beats Penn State too, and we're watching this team play in the.
That's what I'm saying. But this is the only Penn State team. I think that James Franklin. I just said that. I think that James Franklin has changed his ways. But before this, I don't know. If I was a Penn State fan, I would have wanted James Franklin fired last year.
This sounds very similar to Jim Harbaugh, and then they beat y'all's ass, and then he won a national championship. They wanted to fire him before that. They wanted to fire him before that. It sounds like
and they should have. And he had to go hire a Navy fucking SEAL to spy on other teams to win. He had to hire a Navy SEAL to spy on other teams. Then he had to pay.
All right.
For recruits, and then he brought back the oldest roster in college football history. They were all 30 years old. They were all here for 6 fucking years.
JJ McCarthy was 20 years old.
And then he ran off to the NFL immediately. Immediately ran off to the NFL. And by the way, Jim Harbaugh.
He's in the playoffs.
Because Dennis Dodd mentions this in his article, right? Well, Ohio State fans need to be as patient with Ryan Day as Michigan fans with Jim Harbaugh.
Right.
Jim Harbaugh was a quarterback at Michigan. His dad coached at Michigan, right? It'd be like Ohio State if they would fire Kirk Herbstreit. You see how that's different? You know what I mean? You just fire a legacy. And he took a freaking pay cut.
Oh.
Ryan Day ain't taking no pay cut. Right? Ryan Day ain't
take a pay cut.
That's a dude who played at New Hampshire. It is different. It's different.
He shouldn't take a pay cut.
He was a really good quarterback in New Hampshire under Chip Kelly. I watched him.
Yes, he was.
Right, but he's not from Ohio, right? It's really hard to fire a guy from, it's really hard. Jim Harbaugh, it'd be hard to fire Jim Harbaugh. He was a first-round draft pick. He played for you. His dad coached for you, and you want to fire this guy?
I would put that man in prison for what he pulled off at that school up north. And I agree with you, Josh. I agree. Jim Harbaugh belongs in prison. That's where he belongs.
Dude, he left him for dead. Left him for dead.
He belongs
Michigan fans don't care about that. I've talked to a bunch of Michigan fans. Y'all
They
the
do
only
not care.
They do not care. They won a national championship, and you
Notre
Dame didn't.
That's
USC
fine.
didn't. Ohio State didn't.
That's fine. That's one of the greatest teams. That's one of the greatest college football teams ever. I'll admit that. But they were all there for 6 years. right? He had a strategic plan.
That's the age we live in, though, Josh.
That's right. Now we've got
Will Howard's been in college
we're
for
gonna
6 years. Are you going to be mad because you won a national championship with a 24-year-old quarterback? No.
No, but I would have been. We've talked about Dylan Gabriel multiple times, and I've talked about how sick he is.
Riley Leonard's old. I watched
we're
Riley
gonna
Leonard.
we're going to get 5 years out of all these guys now.
They're all
Everybody's
old.
gonna be-
Some of those dudes were there for 6. Some of those dudes, there was like the quarterback for South Dakota State Monday night. He was on the roster when Trey Lance was there. It's like, dude, go move.
I'm not gonna slander what Jim Harbaugh's done. That man is in the playoffs his first year. Yep. He already made a Super Bowl. He won a national championship. He wins everywhere. I don't care about calling
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh.
I'm not bashing Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is one of the greatest coaches in on. He won
as long as we're not doing that.
He won to stay for. I'm not bashing, but the Michigan program was dead. Urban Meyer had his foot on the throat, and it came back from the ashes like a phoenix, and he knew what he was doing.
Then he had to come down to Jacksonville and ruin it.
Great, yeah, exactly. Great coaches. By the way, too, the whole Connor Stallions thing too. When all these teams were tattling to the NCAA, Urban Meyer wouldn't have done that. What Urban Meyer would have done is he would have cheated harder, right? And maybe that's one of the issues with Ryan Day and why Ryan Day hasn't reached that precipice is because he's too nice of a guy. Because God knows Urban Meyer's a huge dick. I can admit that, but God bless him, he was a great coach, right? And he was willing to ride that line, just like Nick Saban, his butthole getting all tight when Shane Gillis was making fun of him. Because that shit's true. Great coaches cheat.
That's you gotta do what you gotta do, but you still gotta win on the field. There's a lot of dudes that cheat and don't win.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a great coach. Maybe that's what Ryan Day is missing. And I think that the transfer portal and NIL makes it a lot easier because now you don't have to. I think that's why James Franklin's doing better too, is because you don't have to go out and cheat. You can just be a nice guy. You can run your program in a very professional way too. Ryan Day runs his program in a very professional way. It's like in NFL. I think guys are laughing and ha 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 ha. Those players didn't like Urban Meyer. They hated him. If the transfer portal was around when Urban Meyer was here, it'd be 50% of the roster every year.
And with Magic Johnson,
I don't think it's always that deep somewhat.
With Magic Johnson now giving Michigan State all this NIL cash for themselves, Nick Saban needs to go back to Michigan State and prove once again that he can really coach. There you go.
I don't think he can. I don't think he can hang. I don't think he has the attitude. What was the story when he went to coach for the Dolphins and Jason Taylor went up in his face and said, "No, you ain't gonna fucking talk to me like that."
Right.
Yeah.
Because these kids don't want to be talked to like that. And I'm not bad. Ryan Day's a good coach. It's just he's got something missing. There's something missing from the recipe. Right? You know what I mean? And maybe this is it. Maybe we found it. Maybe he found the solution. Maybe it's the transfer portal. Maybe it's maybe it was handing the offense to Chip Kelly. I don't know what it was. We're gonna find out. I think that the Chip Kelly thing is really what it was. I think it's too much to call plays and run the show. I mean, the last coach to do that was Jimbo Fisher, and he didn't have anybody he trusted to run the offense. So I think that that's the missing piece. But the transfer portal, the NIL, that helps nice guys like Ryan Day. I don't dislike Ryan Day. Ryan Day is the nicest coach I've ever met. I've met every Ohio State coach that was alive when I was alive. By far the nicest one. The nicest one. I want him to succeed, but we have to call it like it is, and he just wasn't. He's not. Before this playoff run, which isn't done yet, Urban Meyer was the dude. Urban Meyer gave him the keys to a Ferrari, and he turned it into, a nice car, a Lexus maybe, but it's not a Ferrari.
So this is a great segue into the Ohio State game versus Texas. I thought we'd give a little more time to this game than we ended up doing, but we really got stuck on a good way on the first game, and then some passions inflamed. So I will think of passion. I'll stick with Josh. So you've just given a bunch of sometimes even conflicting responses to what you think of Ryan Day. But
what was conflicting? Tell me what was conflicting. I think
his co-host thinks the same thing, by the way. So don't feel bad for saying that about Josh. I'm busting his balls tonight. The new father, Josh.
the in college and football, you have to have a short memory span.
Yes.
You have to have a short memory span. If I said something conflicting, please let me know. All I'm saying, I think the most conflicting thing I said was I praised Marcus Freeman, even though he lost to Northern Illinois. And he's a growing. I think that he's going to be a good coach. And he also went to Ohio State. So sorry, I'm biased towards him. I'm not biased towards the dude that went to New Hampshire. Maybe that's my issue. That's the problem.
I think you like Ryan Day as a person more than fans.
Well, I appreciate this.
The casual fans do not like Ryan Day as a person, but you also are in the locker room at every game. So
he's a great person. He's a phenomenal person. I've seen.
Yeah, I don't have that. You have that insight. You're at every game. You've talked to every coach, like you said. So
when he signs autographs, he looks at you in your eyes and treats you like a person. Urban Meyer doesn't do that. Urban Meyer's just looking for the next ass to grab.
Oh, there's our next T-shirt moment. Josh has just had these things out like Beanie Babies. So if you would take us through what you think your new best friend Ryan Day is going to do with his coaching staff in this upcoming game versus Texas, and that will allow Ohio State to get the victory.
If Ryan Day wins the national championship, I'll be the first in line to help build his statue. You got to have a short memory in college football. This is the year. This is the year. Everything has gone Ryan Day's way, okay? Nick Saban retires. He picks up Caleb Downs, Julian Sain. He picks out his quarterback, Will Howard. He didn't fall for the shiny mystery box in Cam Ward. He didn't fall for that, even though all reports, I know some dudes that are very close to Cam Ward camp. Cam Ward wanted to come to Columbus. He said, no. I'm just going to get the guy that's going to do his job and distribute the ball well. He did, and the thing I loved about Ryan Day in this offseason is I felt like he identified the issue. Okay, I can no longer call plays. As I said, the last coach to call plays and win national championship was Jimbo Fisher. He identified that as an issue. He went out, he got Bill O'Brien, which I thought was a great hire. Bill O'Brien took the Boston College job. Instead of sitting pat and making Brian Hartline the offensive coordinator, he went out and he got Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly quit his job to become the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. That was great. That was great. All the credit in the world to Ryan Day for doing that. I do, and I give him all the credit for doing that. The offense absolutely was 100 times smoother under Chip Kelly than it was under Ryan Day. Now we get to the Michigan game. He's got his fingerprints all over. Let's throw it out. Let's throw out the Michigan game. Okay. I think that's a mental block at this point. You can't count it. I don't know what's going on there, but let's throw it out. That's my Northern Illinois game. We're going to throw out the Michigan game for this year.
Okay.
Every other game, this offense, especially the last two, the playoffs, this offense has looked absolutely phenomenal. They found their groove. Jeremiah Smith is no longer a freshman. He is a sophomore. Emeka Egbuka is great. This is the best defensive line in college football. Jim Knowles, I've had a lot of issues with Jim Knowles, too. I don't think he was a great hire. He's finally let these defensive ends rush the passer. They're no longer being pacifists. They're going there. JTT and Jack Sawyer have lived up to the hype the last two weeks. May have earned themselves some cash, some first-round money. I think that they dominate Texas. The spread is 6.5, 5.5 points, whatever it is. I would take Ohio State -9. I think that they continue to smoke. They continue to go forward. This schedule, the more the season moves on, the more grueling we found out it was, and they've played super well. Will Howard has been super efficient, both on the ground and through the air. The offensive line, we talked about it the last time I was on this show. We talked about the offensive line and the injuries. Josh Simmons went down. And then we thought, well, who needs to go and put in Zen Mikulski? And I said Carson Hensman is on the bench, and he played really well last year. The next game they moved Carson Hensman to center, and they moved. I'm getting all worked up. They moved Saravell to the other guard spot. Offensive line has been primo since. Donovan Jackson should win. He should be All-American for how well he's moved offensive tackle. That's a hard task, and he handled Abdul Carter really well. The offensive, if anything is still upsetting me, it's the fact that the offensive line coach took this long to make that happen, because the offensive line looks better now than it did in the first game. Okay, I think that they are going to cruise to victory. My biggest issue with Texas is that their offensive line is the best offensive line that Ohio State has seen. And if you take out the last two games, the Ohio State defensive line has been subpar. That's the issue. So if the last two games were gimmick games or just fluke games, and they revert back to that, Texas is Quinn Ewers is going to get as much time as he wants, and he's going to distribute it well, and they're going to run for 200 yards. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm willing to bet Ohio State doesn't let that happen, but that's my biggest concern is the Texas offensive line. I'm not worried about the Texas defense at all. In the Texas schedule, as the further we get into the season, the stronger the Ohio State schedule looks, and the weaker Texas schedule looks. Other than Arizona State, their best win is Texas A&M. So I'm completely riding with Ryan Day, and like I said, I'll be first in line to build the statue.
Yes, and I look forward to that. I look forward to you laying the keystone of the Ryan Day statue. Yes. I will hit your Instagram account to see you with the thumbs up and your arm around Ryan Day as you
Yeah, with
lay
my
the
shovel and my gloves. Yeah.
of the statue. Okay, same question to you, Donovan. Which coach can coach less? Because that seems to be the secret to these games, according to Josh. Who can do the least amount of coaching and come away with this victory in the in that Ohio State Texas game?
You guys are both breaking up a tad bit, so I heard some of what you said, but I don't know if that's me on my end or
Oh
you guys.
no.
It might be me because Josh was breaking up and Bill broke up a little bit. I don't know what's going on. I heard somewhat of what you said.
So the question was, what strategically do you think will happen that'll allow either the Texas staff or the Ohio State staff to position their team to win this game?
Oh man, this game is gonna be really close too. And it's gonna be good. I just think what it comes down to is 3 on that burnt orange side. For them, they gotta really get offensive line, really get receiving group. Bond's healthier now than he was, has been the past. Excuse me, I can talk past couple of weeks in the Clemson Arizona State game. Yeah, offensive line, you get Cameron Williams back at right tackle. You got Kelvin Banks, who's my number 1 offensive tackle for the NFL draft coming up this year. So Jake Majors, great center, veteran center there. So yeah. Honestly, like I know it comes down to Quinn Ewers for me, but they do have to. I don't know about them running the ball. They can't run. They've had problems. That's their only bugaboo. And that's something we knew coming into the season because they lost their top 2 running backs. They lost their first running back before the season started in camp, torn ACL, and lost another running back to an Achilles injury. So they're on their now they're deep. I mean, Jaden Blue and Quinn Wisner are 4 stars, but these are their backup running backs, and then Jared Gibson, who's a 5-star. Is their
Where was Blue in Texas's game against Arizona State though? I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It was like what you've only got Wisner going out there. What was this? Because Blue in the game before that had been great against Clemson.
Well, he's the big playback, and I was surprised they didn't try to get him on like a screen or a wheel route or something. You get that guy in space, he's dangerous. And I mean, even with the backs they thought they would have playing instead of him, I still think of all the guys you named, Donovan, Blue is the one that I think has the best ability to just run away from people in the open field and make big plays. But
no, he's a big play guy. He also cannot block at all. He doesn't really even try. He's not good at blocking, but the Clemson game was obviously amazing. He's big play. He had a 77-yard run and a 43-yard run, and a 23-yard catch. 21, excuse me. So, yeah, those are 3 huge. And that's obviously that 77-yard run was insane. It was what broke the game away, but they're going to have to use him. They're going to have to use that guy. Wisner's a little bit better, like I said, blocking and running the ball up the middle, but Blue's your big play guy for sure. And then Quinn just taking care of the football. If he can take care of the football, it'll be fine. Offensive line, I'm not worried about. Not worried about the receivers. Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, DeAndre Moore, Ryan Wingo, who's super duper special freshman receiver, and then Silas Bolden, who's been around for a long time. So they got Gunnar Helm, a top 5 tight end for this draft coming up too. So and I mean, there's just a lot of guys, man. There's a lot of dudes on that Texas offense. But this is the only reason I disagree with Josh, because the biggest matchup to me of the whole game is the secondary of Texas. I think their defense is really good. They bend but don't break. They get a lot of turnovers. I love Barron at corner. He is my CB2 behind Travis Hunter. I don't know what position he's going to play the next level, but Barron would be my CB2. I think he's a top 10 pick. I have number 10 on my board overall right now. I like Michael Taffy. I like Andrew Mubuka at safety. He's been there for a long, long time too. Started a lot of football games. This is and Taffy's just one of those guys that's under recruited, heart and soul of the defense, like rah guy, you know what I mean? But he gets it done. He makes plays. He's gonna make you feel it back there, and he's a playmaker. They got all those guys are playmakers, really. So I mean, that's the reason why. I mean, they've got so many turnovers. They are top 10 in turnovers. You know, speaking of turnovers, that was important right there. But yeah, I mean, this is a really good defense, man. Up front, you know, with Trey Moore and Alfred Collins, and then I love Anthony Hill Jr. He's super duper special. He's going to be a first round pick next year. So they've got guys everywhere, man. They can make plays. The reason Bert Auburn is important too. I don't like to bring up kickers, but they need that guy to just. What did Josh say? Forget about next week, or just forget about what you did last week, or whatever he said. That he needs to be. He's the main guy that needs to do that because they're gonna have to kind of rely on him to kick field goals. That's what his only job is, and he misses a lot of them lately. But yeah, I like this defense a lot. And I think they can make plays. They're going to have to make turnovers to win. They can't just straight up beat Ohio State because Ohio State's too talented on offense. But if they get turnovers, I said turnovers, multiple. That's how they win this game. CJ Vogel, man, I respect the hell out of that guy. He's one of my favorite follows on all of X, especially for Texas. If you don't follow him, please follow him. He's great. He actually picked Ohio State to win, even though he's the insider for All Texas football. CJ kind of broke it down and was like, "Hey, man, like, what you do is just kind of put Barron on the other receivers and double team Jeremiah Smith, and I think that's good. That's what you need to do. You got to make turnovers and make him just force him to throw to somebody else. I know Ibuka's great too, and Carnell Tate. They got a bunch of guys on Ohio State, but take the best players you can away and put your best player off because if he tries to throw the ball thinking he's got a one-on-one matchup and Barron gets a pick, well, there you go. Because Barron can do it, man. And so can Andrew and Michael Taffy back there. So that's going to be what Texas needs to do. Obviously, you just get pressure. Barron Sorrell up front. This game, there's just so much talent. Like, I mean, this is, as a recruiting guy, this is like my dream. These are all the guys. This is like an all-American game. This
game has a lot of second round draft picks for this NFL draft. Texas and Ohio State both have plenty of guys who are going to go in round 2 of this draft.
Yeah, they got a couple round 1 guys too. They got a lot of round 2 and 3 guys, and they got a lot of 5 stars that are true freshmen or just backups or underclassmen that are going to be super duper special. Because I mean, I was looking at the depth chart. I'm like, damn, I forgot about that guy. He was the number 1 player out of this state or this high school. Mesquite. Oh, he was that guy. Like, I mean, I was talking about Trey Owens. Like, Jared Gibson was a number 2 running back in the country last year, and he's the 3rd string running back. He was the 5th running back on this team on Texas, dude. Like, that's insane. So, like, watching this game as a recruiting guy, oh my God. Like, I mean, Trevor Gooseby is a great right tackle, but he's getting bent for Cameron Williams.
Right.
We just talked about how good their line is. This guy, their right tackle is a backup. Like, they're putting their. I don't think Cameron Williams is a first-round pick, but he's a second-round pick. So you're right, Greg. He's that second-tier guy you want on your. I mean, it's just loaded, man. It's just guys everywhere. I do think Ohio State's a better team and they win, but I 6.5 is about right to me. I think it's going to be even closer. Like, I would pick Texas to cover. Like, if betting wise, I would pick Texas spread, but money line Ohio State. For
there
sure.
We go. See, we got a good betting
just
moment in there too.
I did think Josh said 9. Josh said 9 or something, or more than that. It can get ugly because Ohio State's talent, but I think if everybody just plays their A game, like, this game's gonna be really close, man.
But has Texas ever played their A game?
Oh, there we go.
I mean, you talk about
for a whole game.
You talk about their defensive backs. They let Clemson throw 300 yards on them, and Ohio State's quarterback and all 3 of their. I mean, Clemson's number 1 wide receiver would be Ohio State's 4th. You know what I mean? Right. And they threw for 300 yards. And I'm not. I think you're right. I think
3 turnovers,
right.
John.
If you take everybody's A games, Texas, it's equal to Ohio State. But the thing is, like, we just haven't. They just never seem to do what they're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Even the Texas defensive line, like, when I'm watching, I'm like, damn, that defensive line is really good. And then I watch them against Arizona State, and it's like, oh, shit, this will be easy. You know what I mean? It's just not.
Now, some of that, let's give credit.
Everybody out in the country did not give Arizona State enough credit for the team that Dillingham put together. And Texas was guilty of that, just as everybody else who has faced the Sun Devils team this year. Everybody had them as the last place team in the Big 12. Well, guess what? They came out and won the damn conference.
Well, once again, if you're just going by, if you're just going by 4 and 5 star
they were
recruits,
good. I mean, but Texas was. I mean, they let them come back and let them hang around, and that's something Texas can't do. But I mean, Texas was clearly the best team in that game.
sure.
Yeah, and they were
Gotta be
favorite.
amazing.
But-
Coach Dillingham's great. Coach Dillingham has balls. He's a great coach. That's where coaching really matters. If Todd Graham's coaching that game, they lose by 20 with the same team.
If Todd Graham's coaching that game, they're 7 and 5, and they're in the RL Carriers Bowl.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Well, there's not even just Todd Graham. There's a lot of coaches in college football. Dillingham's one of the best coaches in the country, like
pound for pound,
top 10, maybe. Yeah, I mean, like in his age, like we're talking about young. That dude's like
he's
like me.
He's only 34. He's only 34.
He's
So
literally me and Josh's age. Then yeah. So like
He's younger than me.
Yeah,
he's young.
He's younger than you.
So before
go ahead. Sorry,
I was going to say before we close out. I know Greg probably has somebody he wants to shout out. Who do you think in that game, Ohio State versus Texas, a player once again we have not mentioned, you think makes puts their thumbprint or whatever, puts a big imprint on that game?
TreVeyon Henderson has to go wild. TreVeyon Henderson has to have a big run against that Texas defense, and that will slow down the whole Texas defense right then and there. That's my guy, is TreVeyon Henderson. And he also needs to leave the field after scoring that big touchdown so that he's healthy for the draft, so that the Cowboys can take him in round 3.
So you want all the running backs? You want Austin Genty? You want Cameron
No, because of course I can't take Genty because everybody says you can't have these running backs anymore. So okay, fine. I'm going to take the Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama at 12. There's a shock for you guys.
He's nice.
Savion Williams, the TCU wide receiver, and then my 3rd round pick is TreVeyon Henderson.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, I like that.
Well, we'll get to mock drafting later. I just want to finish out with our discussion of this game, and then we can watch the game. That's
my bad, Bill. I forgot to mention. I don't know how I forgot to mention the number 1 edge rusher in the class, Colin Simmons. He leads the team in sacks too. And he's 18. That's like that guy might be like a top 5 pick in 2 years, right? Like
2 years, yeah.
He's. I mean, he looks like a grown ass man.
So
I mean, you can make the argument Colin Simmons and Jeremiah Smith are the best 2 players on the field, talent wise, even though they're both true freshmen.
Right. Well, okay. So let's stay with the youth must be served. Of those guys, which one of those baby ballers do you think tilts the field in the direction of his team?
I gotta go with Jeremiah, man. I'm not picking against that dude. I mean, as much as I love Colin Simmons, I'm not picking against that dude. He is just on another planet. But Colin is too, and he's hot right now. He's started off the season a little slow, but Texas fans, relax, buddy. He's 18. They were on his ass in the beginning of the season. I'm like, dude, he's a true freshman starting. It's tough. People don't realize how hard that is. I don't care if you're a 100-star. You know what I mean? And you're the best thing since sliced bread. It's tough.
Yep.
But as you saw late in the season, he got better. Whether it was the A&M game, like you pointed out, that's kind of the game he broke out, or the Kentucky game, really. The A&M. The first Georgia game, he wasn't good. When they rematched Georgia, he was great. Clemson game, good. ASU game, nasty. So he's special. You got to let him loose. Their defensive coordinator, the former head coach at Boise, Pete, how do you say his last name? It's Polish last name, yeah.
Kwiatkowski.
He
who I remember as a linebacker himself, a tackling machine back in his own day.
Oh God, sorry, Drew Aller. What are you doing, dude?
Darn, jeez, I'm so upset seeing that pass go get picked off. I'm really upset by that.
Whoever wins Ohio State, Texas will win the national championship. I'm letting you guys know that right now. Anyway, this is bad, but yeah, like he's got a. Texas fans are kind of on him, kind of like you said, Jim Knowles, I guess. I've heard fans like him. Some fans don't like him because he plays a lot of like contain, and keep everything in front of them. And I'm like, dude, let those guys go and let those edge rushers, like you were saying, let those edge rushers go. Texas defense is third in the nation. Like, I know they get a bad rap, but like,
well, they were number 1 in the nation before the playoffs.
There you go.
I mean, yeah, but they get turnovers. Like, we're talking about the Buffalo Bills. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills defense, right, Bill? They live and die off turnovers. What happened early in that Arizona State game? And what happened to Clemson? Yeah, they threw all those yards, but what happened? Turnover.
Right.
They wait for you to make a mistake. Will Howard is a mistake away from making Texas win. As long as 3 doesn't make, because three might throw 3 turnovers. Quinn, as much as I love Quinn Ewers more than anybody in the world.
You really do. You have a deep and abiding love for Quinn Ewers. Speaking of people laying cornerstones, your shrine to Quinn Ewers is quite impressive.
Quinn was the first. He's
$1 million NIL guy. Yeah.
Well, he's also. I interviewed him when he was doing that, so I was one of the first. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I mean, if you look up Quinn Ewers NIL, if you look up Quinn Ewers NIL, I come up pretty early on that Google list. But
Google me, baby.
I interviewed him when he had the mullet, man, when he was the real Quinn Ewers. But
yeah.
I mean, he's got to take care of the ball. If he don't take care of the ball, then this is all this talk is done. But if that guy takes care of the ball like he normally does, or he has been lately anyway, outside of the Georgia game, I know he didn't take care of the ball, but if he does take care of the ball, they have a shot. Just because, like I said,
look at what Josh has up there. Look what Josh has up there.
There it is. My Quinn Ewers helmet.
Oh, when he was at Ohio State, yeah.
His agent bought a lot of them back and then cleaned them so that
Ohio State legend Quinn Ewers. Yeah.
Texas just lives off turnovers, man. Like, I mean, I get what you're saying, Josh. Like, their defense is a little shaky. But if you watch Texas in that secondary, they create a lot of havoc and turnovers. But if they don't do that, you guys are going to win.
Quarterbacks.
Say that again.
Didn't they also play a shit ton of backup quarterbacks this year too? Like, I feel like things just kind of bounced their way as far as like, oh, this quarterback was hurt, so you're playing this guy, right? Because they played I thought that they played the backup at Florida, and I thought they played the backup at Kentucky. Yeah, well, I mean, regardless, I know you're right. I know that
Kentucky is better than Brock Vandagriff. He's
trash,
dude.
Facts. That is facts.
Yeah, but they did. I mean, I get that, but we're okay. Well, when they played Diego Pava and beat him, well, he's not good anymore. But you just said he was a Heisman candidate, but now he's not good.
I agree with you. I agree with
that. Though they moved the goalpost, or like, okay, Klubnik's the greatest thing. Now he's not good. He's trash. Like,
no, Klubnik's good.
Sam Levin.
Klubnik's good. Clemson's good. Arizona State's good. I'm not trying to move the goalpost. I'm saying that none of those teams are on the same tier as Ohio State. That's my point, right? And we see Ohio State. Ohio State's bad game is again. You have to throw out the Michigan game. But their bad game is like a 7, right? Texas's bad game, it's like a 3, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's like I just feel like there's a different.
It's a 3, Josh, but like they only lost to Georgia twice. So like, what are we really saying? Like, they didn't lose to the bad teams they played. You guys.
All right, maybe I'm exaggerating. Let's say 5. What's their?
What do you think? I know that they didn't play the schedule you guys played, but they beat that bad team you beat, and they had Will Johnson and Kenny Grant and Mason Graham and Colson Loveland. They went to Ann Arbor and beat their ass. You guys didn't. So what are we saying? What are we really saying?
I know that's the problem, but I'm saying I'm throwing that game out because there's some kind of weird mental block that Ryan Day has, because that game.
Sarge has only lost to good teams. He doesn't lose the bet, so it's just hard to like gauge. Like, now he needs to beat some more good teams for sure, but like Sarge doesn't lose those. Now they play. So
are you saying Steve Sarkisian's a better coach than Ryan Day?
Yes.
So are you saying that every coach that beats Michigan is a better coach than Ryan Day?
Huh.
Wait, did I say? Wait, what? Say what?
Well, because you said they beat Michigan, right? So I'm just trying to make sure,
that was just their only common opponent. I mean, that they beat them early when Michigan was ranked. Michigan was still a top 10 team when they beat them.
Okay.
Well, no, I think Sarge is.
Ohio State lost to him, so I can't argue against that.
I think Sarge is the best coach in the playoffs.
Really?
How do you? Yeah, I said that, and I know I'm
gonna still put my money on Kenny Dillingham. If he had anything close to the roster that either Sark or Ryan Day had, they would have been undefeated this year, and they would just steamroll through the playoffs. But
maybe it's hard to manage a roster like that, and it's not as easy. I mean, a lot of people say that, but like managing these talented guys,
Right.
it's
These
tough.
personalities and their
I don't know, man. Kelly, I
but
mean,
kids are kids.
Sarge is a
And Gilligan connects with
Sarge
good
is a
kids.
good coach, man.
Yes.
Like his play calling ability it's the best to me. It's
everybody that's left is
the best.
everybody that's left is a good coach.
They're all
right?
good coaches, but I think
And
if
just
I
like-
had to pick a coach, it would be Sark's out of the four.
I have to say this because I am cheering for Notre Dame to win tonight, even though you guys are both taking the Nittany Lions, which is fine. Because again, that's my second team. But if I want to see Notre Dame have a shot at the national championship, it's got to be against Texas, not Ohio State. Bottom line, because hey, Notre Dame is 9-3 all time versus Texas. We're only 2-5 against Ohio State. So no, I don't want Ohio State.
Well,
Texas just might shit the bed. That's the thing about Texas. You just never know when they're going to shit the bed. I don't feel like Ohio State shits the bed unless it's against Michigan.
Right. Yes. Okay. So before we close out, I'll start with you for a moment, Greg. So looking at that second game, give me the thing that you think flips the field. What thing do you think turns that game? Is it a turnover? Is it a big run?
No, Donovan was right on the money earlier. If Texas turns the ball over against, if Ohio State turns the ball over by a fumble or a couple of interceptions by Will Howard, then Texas can win this game. Outside of getting the turnover battle won, this is Ohio State's game all night long.
That's what I said. Yeah, I mean that was
Donovan he's completely right about this. And Donovan, you're still my number one guest on this show. You're the number one guest.
I think Josh is number
the golf.
No, because Josh, I had to give him congratulations and all that jazz when they beat Penn State, and I haven't had to congratulate you for anything.
Oh my God! Oh, Jesus! Oh, that's awful. Oh,
I had a bad year for football with the Jags, man. But new coach coming in, we'll see.
There we go.
But I like this game. The reason why I talk about Sarge and Texas and this team is the last year when they beat Alabama. They played good in every game, man. They lost to Washington and Michael Penix by 6 on a last winning drive. You know what I mean? Versus that team that was good. I know they didn't win the Natty, but Washington was a damn good team. I think they could have. They were right. They're right in every game with Coach Sark at Texas. Now I know he didn't start off as great, but with Quinn as quarterback, he's hurt a lot. He had collarbone. I think they were going to beat Alabama that year. They lost, but they ended up beating them last year at home. They lost one game. They've lost to Washington and Georgia twice the past 2 years.
Yep.
So that's it.
What do we? And they lost by 6 points. Like the first Georgia game, they got their ass kicked.
Right.
But Sark's. Somebody said Sark is the worst coach in the playoffs. I was like, what are we talking about?
But every coach in the playoffs is pretty good. That's the thing. I think you're just
James
taking
Franklin's
offense.
not better than Coach Sark, dude. That's not even that close to me. Like, come on, dog.
I don't know. I agree with you. I would have Sark higher on the, but I think
it's close. It's close. I won't say it's not that close.
I just don't see it as an insult. I think every team that was in the playoffs was good. I think every coach that was in the playoffs was good. Right. If we're talking elite, that's like 5 teams, but good. There's, 15, 20 coaches, teams that are good that I wouldn't want to play. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like when I'm bashing on Texas, I'm not bashing on Texas. Texas is good. Texas is great. Texas is elite. Texas is the top 5 most talented team in college football, maybe the most talented team in college football. But they're playing Ohio State in the semifinals. So it's like I'm picking somebody. I gotta look at their overall resumes, and Ohio. It's just the
way Ohio State
ratio.
Oregon and Tennessee, I get it, man. I get it. I still think they win the ball game. I just feel like Texas. The way people are talking, maybe it's just on X, because when you look on X and you look on like the sports book, it's a lot different. Because like Texas odds aren't that bad to win the national championship because of all the talent, right, Josh? But people be dogging out Coach Sarks in Texas on. Maybe it's just they hate Texas, like I guess. But
when I first went down to Texas in the 1970s to visit my aunt in Dallas, who taught me how to be a Cowboys fan and all that good sort of stuff, I thought this University of Texas was loved. And no. I mean, there is so much hate towards that university in the rest of the state that it's not even funny.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but like I just really like the past 2 years, like I said. Now I know that first year was bad. They took over a mess though, and they had a bunch of stuff
Can't
going
count
on.
the first year. I agree with you there.
I mean, but the really past 2 years, I mean, they just and he's done. I mean, beat Oklahoma. That's what they got to do. That's like their mission,
Yes.
always, right? So like
Right.
he did that, and like they lost the first time when they went 8-7. But yeah, I mean, I just think I don't know. We'll see. He has to keep this game close though, because if he does get blown out, like you said, Josh, if it's 44-21, okay, well we gotta have a talk with Sarson. We gotta go back to the drawing board and see what's going on, because he is the play caller, right? And he's the play caller. That was a good stat. Nobody's won a championship
Since Jimbo,
since Jimbo at FSU.
Yeah,
that's the play caller.
Yeah, and again, not to go on my Ryan Day rant, but it's like people don't when they hear me bitching about Ryan Day, they don't take in consideration all the variables that are like, dude, it just you're 3 points away from being a great coach, but those 3 points are keeping. You know what I mean? It's when you're talking about Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, the top 5 programs. That's the fucking difference. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean Starks has a lot of Coach Starks is the most stressed coach too. He just looks like he's got he's got so much going on because he's the play caller. He's the OC and I know some people close to that program, man. He doesn't let anybody touch that offense. He barely has anybody on staff. They're all defensive coaches that's on staff. I know Kyle Flood is
Sarkisian is under a lot of pressure because he's got McConaughey as the minister of culture. That's why he's under so much pressure. It's all Matthew McConaughey's fault.
Well, he's also got a $10.3 million per year. That's a big reason.
Yeah, that I think might be a bigger part of it.
Yeah.
Before we close out, I'll start with you, Josh. Is there a player in that game, in the last game we're talking about, that we haven't talked about enough that you think deserves more love and attention in the Ohio State-Texas game?
Yeah, so this will be my last thing that I got to go. I got a screaming baby upstairs. I don't think Donovan Jackson gets enough credit for how well he's played off the tackle. I already said that, so I'll pick a different one. Carson Hinsman. Carson Hinsman was a really good center all last year, and they benched him for Seth McLaughlin, rightfully so. I understand why. Seth McLaughlin was better around the Remington, rightfully so. But Hinsman stepped in, and that allowed a lot of flexibility with Cerebral to play. That stepped up Tegra Shabola. I really think that Hinsman is kind of the unsung hero of that offensive line that went from being a liability to, I don't want to say a strength, but very good offensive line.
Yep.
I'm out, guys.
Yep. Well, we're all
Take
out.
your job.
We're going to close out after this question. So same question for you, Donovan. Give me a player that we haven't discussed yet that you think makes a big impact or that we haven't given enough love and attention to in that second game.
Man, me and Josh were talking about him earlier in the day. Cody Simon. Man, that guy.
Is he related to John Simon at all?
I think he is. Okay. I had to double take on that. I think he is.
Isn't he like a nephew or something?
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
I think so. But yeah, continue. Tell us about why. Veteran
experience, man. 5th season with the program. That's rare, right? To hear somebody's 5th season with the program. He's been there forever, obviously, it feels like, but that's just old school, He stayed put, he didn't transfer out or anything. Tackling machine, man. He's just always around the ball. Really noticed him last year, even though they lost, or was it last year they lost to Missouri? Was it last year? Yeah, that's the game I noticed him a lot. And he's always there making a tackle, man, making a play. If there's a forced fumble, he might get it. If there's a interception across them, because when Quinn throws a lot of his picks, they're not to DBs, they're like underneath to like linebackers and stuff. He throws over the middle field so much across his body that he ends up throwing to like a lot of linebackers. So this could be a linebacker that could get a pick. I mean, Quinn will probably throw at least one. When I say not throw interceptions, I mean like multiple, because he's gonna throw one. Because that's just in his DNA. But like, as long as he only has one, like, they're good. But if it's like 2-3, it's done. Or a fumble, he fumbles a lot too. Because he just holds on to the ball, trying to make. Like I said, it kind of reminds me, not literally, don't take this literal, but like the way he plays is kind of like Jay Cutler to me, just because he's just always trying to make a play when it's just not unnecessary.
And he's going to be playing for Belichick next year at UNC as well. So let's Let's stop the Quinn Ewers chatter. Let's stop the Quinn Ewers chatter. I've had enough of that man. I've had enough.
Okay.
Uh,
I don't think I do not think he will be in college next year. Is my take on that. But
Right.
we can talk about that another time. But I think
He will. We will have a whole at some point a whole draft show at some point in
But
the
no,
future.
I mean, yeah, Cody Simon's the guy for me. Just veteran leadership and just another. If you can't tell, like rah guys, that's the guy in the middle of the. They got a lot of guys like that on Ohio State though. So Jack Sawyer is definitely a guy like that too.
Yeah.
Another veteran that's been there forever. Quinn Ewers' old roommate, by the way. Sorry, Greg, to bring that up again, but I watch a lot of
don't talk about viewers. I've had enough of him.
I know. I'm sorry. I've been watching all these pressers, so I've been loving all these fun facts and all this stuff. But I love Jack, and I know Josh isn't here anymore, but that's his favorite player, by the way. And if you know Josh Healy and know how he played back in high school, you would know why that's his favorite player. Shout out to Valpo. That's where Josh played his college football.
Valparaiso.
Yeah. But no, Jack Sawyer is just. He's great, man. I think Jack Sawyer is like that end of the first round, early second type guy to me, and just I love him, but I know I've been seeing him a little too high, maybe in the top 15, 20. I don't think he's that.
Yeah, that's too high. Yeah.
I know
That's way too high.
He's not like a Bosa brother. He's not that good.
He's not a little brother.
He's almost more Sam Hubbard.
He's almost Sam Hubbard if you're looking for an Ohio State guy.
More Sam Hubbard than Bosa. Well, yeah, I saw some kids compared him to Joey. I was like, no, don't do that to Jack. He's not. They're not the same type player. Same size. No. Not same type
that's it. That's the extent. That's the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go Jack and Cody Simon, and then on Texas, I would say Michael Taffy and Gunnar Helm.
Got it.
Gunnar Helm might control the middle of the field for
Gunnar Helm is going to give Caleb Downs a hard time, and that could be a difference.
He's 6'5" too.
I know he can give Caleb Downs a hard time in that game.
Yep.
Also, do not kick it to Caleb Downs. Don't kick to Caleb Downs.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He's a special athlete. Gentlemen, it has been indeed a privilege and an honor and a pleasure. We have spent about 20-ish minutes longer than I thought we would on this, which is fine. I don't mind going a little long. We had some great stuff, and so it doesn't bother me one teeny tiny bit. But
I have my two hoodies, my one that I'm wearing right now, and my other one for whoever wins this game tonight. We'll be on afterwards with the post game show, Bill.
Yep. So that's when if you're available, Donovan, we'd love to have you back. If not, it has been a great opening up 2025 in college football with you. You are one of the best out there. If you care about, obviously you're doing, Jacksonville